Morning, everyone. I'm Alex I'm Alex Karstens. I'm founder and chief financial officer of Viridis. Thank you all for taking the time out of your beautiful sunny San Diego day to hear just a little bit about what we're up to. We think it's a worthwhile mission. Before I dive into the slides, wanted just to touch a little bit on the genesis of Viridis. I grew up nearby in Riverside, California. For those of you not familiar with it, it's a city nearby, about an hour east of LA. Mostly trade-based economy. Most of my friends were community college track students. And I really lived and saw firsthand the statistics that I'm sure many of the folks in this room are well acquainted with. You know, these 20% community college completion rates, amazingly high underemployment rates, artificially low unemployment rates, and really saw firsthand what these statistics mean. And it's really not numbers. It's homelessness, it's poverty, it's unemployment. I can't tell you how many of my friends I saw fall through the cracks and their lives are just irreparably ruined. And linked up with my co-founder, Felix Ortiz. He's the guy you'll see on the cover slide here. And he was really thinking about the exact same problems as far as going from the Army into civilian life. Experienced many of the exact same problems as far as not having a ton of clarity or direction on career path, not understanding what the skills required to succeed are, and ultimately seeing many of his battle buddies going through the same problems I experienced my friends going through. So diving right into it, we believe that a lot of these problems have been created by technology, ironically enough. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the employment triangle, but just in case, because it's something that we really is the crux of our business here. It's the triangle connecting higher education, students or job candidates, and employers. And we really see ourselves as a platform for tying all that together. So the problems is really created by technology is the fact that we have all these walled garden data systems. Even within colleges themselves, you have CRMs, you have student information systems, learning management systems. None of these systems typically talk to each other, and folks like counselors often don't have access to the insights even within the institution that they need to access. That's a problem just alone within college. What's a bigger problem is that there's no feedback loop happening with the employment triangle. There's no systematic way that employers are feeding data on student placements and student success back to the college. And that's really the fundamental problems that we see. How that manifests itself as pain for each of these three constituencies is students, they struggle to identify career pathways. What should I do as a student? Like I could go into some math-based, STEM-based things. Maybe I'm into liberal arts. I'm being inundated with all kinds of different types of advice, and it's really hard to parse it all, understand what's the set of options that make sense for me, Alex, as an individual. And they get lost, and on top of that, just suffer from the inequality and biases that sort of system creates. On the higher education side, I already touched on it, they have very little insight into their own data. Only really the folks at the very top of the IT organization have the 360 view, and it's not really being provided where it's most needed. And what is a positive, but still a pain point for college now, is that funding mechanisms for colleges have shifted away from completion rates and are now moving into student success, so employment and employment retention rates. And lastly, employers. I'm sure everyone in here knows recruitment's getting more expensive, churn's on the rise. Since colleges struggle to keep pathways aligned with the needs of employers as they're ever changing, employers have to spend a lot more money on training now. And with high churn, that creates a lot of additional expenses. So the solution that we see is really something that creates that feedback loop in the employment triangle. So really the heart of what we do is the cloud platform. We're integrating the databases within a college, but also within employers, and then tying them together, and then overlaying government level data as well from the Department of Revenue, and that's usually fed back to the statewide institutions. On top of that platform, we've built 3 apps. The Skill Passport is our document that is essentially a replacement for the resume. It's a validated and verified snapshot of the skills that a student has achieved through their progress. The accountability data system, exactly what it sounds like, being able to report ROI metrics for the student back to the college and funders. And lastly, the talent exchange, not just tracking student ROI, but actually proactively driving it by matching students to opportunities, be it internships, apprenticeships, and jobs, you name it. So here's a visualization of the employment triangle and how we provide value to all 3 corners. At a high level, we start by aggregating the college data, populate that into skill passports, track the student's skill acquisition through their pathway, and then ultimately match them to relevant opportunity. The final step is closing that feedback loop and reverting data on post-completion student success and wage gain progression back to the institution for their own funding. This is what our skill passport looks like. It's pretty self-explanatory, have basic information, verified skills, and anything that's not verified we still can include, but we make sure to make it explicit that it's not verified. Why this is powerful is because students can finally visualize where they stand as far as progress towards their end goals. Really mostly touched on that already. So that's the pain and the solution. How we actually build this out is in a localized way. We start in key markets, anchor with the colleges, working with the local governments, understand what the most critical employment pathways are, and then really reverse engineer the pathways back to the curriculum, tying in the local keystone employers. We only align ourselves with people that really see the world as we do. We like to keep strategic investors around us. And we've really built our college side of the platform, which is how we started on this double-sided platform, as a solution that's by colleges for colleges, by convening a big council of community college chief executives. Now we're doing the same on the corporate advisory side, mostly just chief human resource officers from Fortune 500 companies. I believe I'm out of time, but I'll be around if anyone has any questions. We're always looking for new partners and just love to obviously talk about what we're doing. So please, if you have any questions or comments, please come find me. Thank you.